Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Hi, Rob Browne here with you on this Friday. Full lineup today. It is day 3 of the SEC basketball tournament up in Nashville. And I'll tell you what, it's interesting how many teams that keep losing, keep going up in the net rankings or whatever. But finally, Arkansas did get a win. They beat Auburn last night because they had lost 5 of the last 7, 3 in a row. I know they played, but you have to play the teams in your league, Alabama, Tennessee, and Kentucky. But Arkansas got a good win. And it's the same thing that, Wes Moore and Dudley Dawson, who cover the Hogs for us every week, had said Eric Musselman had called out the team and said, guys, y'all are soft. You got to get tougher. And they talked about that after the game. They were up by 14 points over Auburn in the second half. And, went down to Auburn. Had they hit a 3-point shot at the end, would have tied the game and sent it into overtime, but didn't happen. Arkansas was a better team. Don't blame officials, Auburn or Arkansas. there have been a few calls this year that have been atrocious, but good grief, man. Start taking accountability for your team. I don't care who you're a fan of. The officials, they are sometimes, it may make you pull your hair out, but officials don't make you soft. Officials don't make you a poor rebounding team. They don't make you a poor free throw shooting team or a poor layup shooting team. You just got to take responsibility. Eric Musselman's right. Get tough. John Hartwell, our good friend, says his dad always told him when things are going tough and going against you, be a bulldog, son. That's what you got to do. So Arkansas has a good win, I believe now, because Nick Smith comes in at the end of the season, and of the 7 games he played in, they were 2-5. It's not his fault. It's just tough to bring somebody in that late because your team's already who they are. But LSU went out last night. Vanderbilt, got the win. Mississippi State's still alive. Look, stuff's happening really fast, quickly. Mitch Davis is in right now in the lobby of the hotel up there in Nashville, Bridgestone Arena for the SEC tournament. Also, Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers will join us in the second segment. A lot going on, football, basketball, baseball. Hour number 2, Bo Carter, Big 12 office. He's out in Dallas covering Conference USA tournament, covering Big 12. You name it, he's covering. And the intern, William Halliday, he too, our freshman journalism major for the Auburn Plainsman. Mitch, you're going to have to meet William, freshman journalism major for the Auburn Plainsman. He's up there covering the SEC tournament. I hope he's still there. I hope he hadn't gone back since Auburn lost, but a lot to talk about. 6 days a week. Catch us on Twitter at Sidelines_live. Join IPTAM. I pay $10 a month. Go to the website, sidelines.live. Hit the orange Patreon button. We'd love to have you as a Sidelines team member. Okay. Want to make an announcement. Also, we're really proud to have a new sponsor, Eleanor Maynard, Hobson Realty. She has been doing this a while. She's one of the best. You're going to hear a lot more about Eleanor. She's going to be on the show. We're going to introduce her to everybody. If you are living in the Mid-South, Memphis, the Mid-South, moving into this area, she is your realtor. She's our realtor. She's Sidelines realtor, Eleanor Maynard. Tell you what, lots to do, and we'll put the hyperlink to the website on the sidelines.live website. But she is the tip of the spear when it comes to work and putting real estate proposals together, finding properties. You want to sell your property, you want to buy something, Eleanor Maynard, Hobson Realty. Proud to have her as a sponsor on Sidelines. Mitch, got to say, man, basketball, there have been some pretty close games. We're not seeing the 30 and 40-point blowouts that you see in the tournament. Seems like everybody up here is playing with a sense of urgency. Do you agree?
I agree, Robin. Even yesterday in our blowout game, as some would say, the Tennessee Ole Miss game, that game was not as large of a margin as it felt at times because Ole Miss just kept picking away at Tennessee. I mean, they lost by 15, but Ole Miss kept picking away at Tennessee. They only lost by 15. It was a valiant effort by a Rebels team who without a coach who's, playing with injuries and all this other stuff. It's a really good effort by Ole Miss. And of course, last night, LSU hung close with, Vanderbilt for most of the game until the last 4 or 5 minutes when Vanderbilt pulled away. In those games, sometimes the talent's just too much for those lower seeds. But now that we've reached Friday, I can fully expect this game or these games on Friday to be the best games we've seen in a very long time for SEC basketball.
Well, let me tell you something. Basketball in the SEC, Mike Slive back in 2013, 2014, at the advent of the SEC network, made it clear to every school in the SEC, you better ramp up your basketball operations, okay? Because we've got to put a top grade product out there. ESPN, SEC network spending a lot of money, so get after it. But you're right. Ole Miss, now that's going to be interesting what's going to happen with Chris Beard or whatever. But Tennessee, what are they, number 3 in the net rankings, one of the best defensive teams in the country. And they win 70-55.
Yeah, but Rob, Tennessee's not that good. Tennessee is not that great of a team that everybody keeps saying that, Tennessee's like a 3 seed. To me, that's the most overrated team in the tournament right now. I mean, they don't have a point guard. They don't have a point guard that can lead them. The Volunteers struggle to score. I know yesterday they played Ole Miss. It's not like they played any real competition. I'm really interested to see, how Tennessee responds to Kobe Browne from Missouri today, because, that was a team that beat the Volunteers earlier in the season. Just to me, man, Tennessee's just not what everybody's cracking them up to.
Well, you look at teams that have high expectations in the preseason, and the narrative by a lot of the writers and the people that cover, whether it's Tennessee or just college basketball in general, they will move heaven and earth for their narrative to be proven right, even if they're dead wrong. And that, I'm not saying Tennessee's not a good team, but they're 11-7 in the SEC. Auburn 10-8. Arkansas finished 8-10 in the regular season. And the previous 2 years they've been to the Elite Eight. But Mitch, you got to know as a team, you are who you are this late in the season. It's really hard. Tigers don't change their stripes. They just change their watering holes. and it's a tougher, there's so many people coming at you with opinions on this team and that team, whatever, but it's Tennessee's good. They're not great. They did beat Alabama when they were number 2, but Oklahoma beat Alabama in Norman during the Big 12 SEC Challenge, 93-69. What does that mean?
And that's the thing that, Tennessee's such an inconsistent team, but when you get to this Friday round of the SEC tournament, all 8 of these teams remaining can play the game of basketball at a high level. We talked about Mississippi State yesterday. Mississippi State is my dark horse to win the SEC tournament. I think they're going to give Alabama fits today. I really do. Watching Mississippi State yesterday, obviously they can't let their foot off the throttle like they did yesterday. When Mississippi State got, I think it was 12 yesterday, they kind of played conservatively. They stopped playing physically. They let oh crap, who did they play yesterday? Florida. They let Florida back in the game. And Rob, I'll be honest with you, these days, since we're on day 3 out of 5, these days are starting to run together. I'm like, oh my God, who did this team play at noon yesterday? That's the beauty of the SEC tournament right now.
Well, at Bridgestone Arena, the crowds that are up there are fantastic. Nashville's 11th time to host the SEC tournament. Of course, many times it was in the old Memorial Gymnasium on Vanderbilt's campus. Now, Bridgestone Arena downtown by the Omni, it's a great place for walking traffic, for foot traffic. That's what I think makes it so good. And you talk about places for the Final Four, San Antonio, New Orleans. Those are two of the best.
When Nashville gets their the new stadium, I think they're building like a dome for the Titans. They said when they build that dome for the Titans, that the Final Four can potentially make a rotation to Nashville, which would be awesome. It would be a phenomenal thing for this city, for the state. I know that if the Final Four was ever here in Nashville, I'd probably be at the Final Four every time it would make its trip to Nashville, just because of how great and centrally located Nashville is. I was talking to a Learfield sports guy yesterday, during one of the games, that he was talking about how centrally located this is. with the furthest team being Texas A&M, everybody else is within driving distance, maybe with the exception of Florida and Arkansas, but those are short plane rides. And every team in the SEC has a large alumni base here in Nashville. I mean, I was going through the SEC list on their alumni site yesterday just to see, what type of fan support each team would have. And, Auburn has a large alumni, Texas A&M, Kentucky, LSU. All these programs have large alumni bases here in the city of Nashville, the Nashville metropolitan area.
Yeah. One thing, bottom line, you're going to go to the games, and there's a bunch of games, get 14 teams there. Okay. But you got to be able to walk around, easy access to restaurants and bars, the country music scene up there. The music scene period is great. Think about Memphis. The Forum is not big enough. I mean, for a Final Four, you've had it a few times in the past at Market Square Arena in Indianapolis. You'd had the Final Four because of Indiana's great tradition in basketball. But now you do stadiums, and you think about back. I know when Auburn played up in Minneapolis in the Dome, 72,000 at a basketball game. I've been to the Final Four in Minneapolis, but it was at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, 52,000. And we were 12 rows off the court, but some of these arenas are not that good. The sight lines aren't that good, but the architects, the engineers now, they take all that into account. You have that retractable roof. That makes a big advantage. But Nashville and the hospitality up there, they're great at that. Atlanta is too, and so is Birmingham. Birmingham's going to have a big deal coming up here next week.
And the difference is, between Nashville and Memphis and Nashville and, maybe Atlanta is the crime. Nashville's done a very good job at maintaining peace here in the city. They've got I hate to say this, but they got a Republican mayor who has, cracked down on crime. And, unfortunately, we see in Memphis, where we're both from, Rob, is that we've, been corrupted for so long. And it's hard to get a big event in the city of Memphis now, because, tourists are afraid to come to Memphis because of the violent crime that has taken place in the city. And, that's something that you don't see in Nashville. Like Dad and I were talking last night is, we have not felt unsafe one time here in Nashville. We've, been walking around. We went to Rippy's, we've been to Tootsie's, we've been to all these different places and never have felt unsafe so far in Nashville. It's been a phenomenal trip. Of course, we've been several times, came to the Music City Bowl. But I think that's what hurts Atlanta. Of course, Atlanta's going to get it because it's a big city, but it hurts Memphis.
It doesn't help, but I'll say this: Atlanta. When you have an event in Atlanta, it's right downtown there by the College Football Hall of Fame, the Aquarium, CNN Center, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the State Farm Arena for basketball. It's all right there together. They do what Memphis can do. The smartest thing Memphis would do would to have entertainment district with, high security. And that'll get your tourists, because people go to New York City. They go to Miami. They go to Dallas for these events. But you've got to, you're right. You got to make a concerted effort to crack down. Mitch, the tournament being in Nashville, and next week, Birmingham's going to host the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. That does so much for pride. And you look at a city like Birmingham, Monday Morning Birmingham Quarterback Club. I know a lot of people who are members of that club. You've got every year they alternate. One year it's an Auburn man. Next year it's an Alabama man is the president. Okay. They, this past year, they raised $1.6 million for local charities. Okay. And you've got Auburn and Alabama, but you've got Ole Miss, Washington and Lee, Vanderbilt, Rhodes, Mississippi State. You've got alumni and graduate, of all these different schools, but it's obviously dominantly Auburn and Alabama. But UAB's big. When they built that Protective Life Stadium, 45,000 seats, you had people like Hall Thompson and different people in Birmingham who got involved. And I don't know of another city that's so civic minded, because let's face it, you got Mountain Brook, Hoover, Vestavia, Spain Park, Pelham, Homewood, all these over the mountain communities. That's what they are. But they get together and pull for Birmingham. Memphis can do it. Look, people you and I know in Memphis are great people. And at Nashville, a lot of the, there are more people moving from Nashville to Memphis than the other way around now. I know that's a surprise, but you're right. When you're there and you see this, I got to say, watching these games, SEC Network's doing a hell of a job. Have you had a chance to talk with Dari Noko, Peter Burns, Damian Fishback, the shooter, Pat Bradley? I want you to get a one-on-one with the shooter. Did you see his suit last night? He's got the shooter. He's got it embroidered inside of his suit. It just says shooter. I want an interview, Mitch.
I was actually like 3 people down from Pat Bradley last night. Yesterday I actually did talk to Alyssa Lang just a little bit, talking about how great the SEC broadcast has been. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Peter Burns. We kind of waved to each other. We hadn't had a chance to sit down. I'm going to be actually interviewing, your boy Johnny Ballpark Franks today on my live show from Fanfare. We're going to be, I think he's joining me at 10:45.
Yeah.
Again, these times and these days, man, and Rob are starting to run together just a little bit, just running on no sleep. Like I went to bed last night, trying to
25, Mitch, 24, 25.
Well, see, when you go to bed at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning after, putting a lot of information and notes and getting ready for a show live from Fanfare, about a 45-minute show today. You get pretty tired. And my brother was sitting there. We had ordered a pizza late at night. And he was like, man, you got the life, man. You're sitting here watching all these press conferences. You're drinking the bourbon. And I was like, it's probably not the most healthiest thing. But, I've kind of taken after John Daly. And if it hadn't killed me yet, it ain't going to kill me. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Mitch, we got to take a break. But I'll tell you, welcome to my world, duck season. From mid-November to the early week of February, it's just a big foggy haze of getting up at 3:15, 3:30. Going outdoors, but it's a great life. I love it. We'll be right back with Mitch Davis live from Nashville right after this quick commercial break.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Rob Browne with Mitch Davis up at the SEC tournament in Nashville. Again, proud to announce a partnership with our new sponsor, Eleanor Maynard, Hobson Realty. Here's some things you need to know about her. She is a 4th-generation Memphis residential realtor, 3rd-generation Hobson realtor, top 5% out of 4,600 realtors in 2022. Hell, that is the realtor that you need. We'll have the hyperlink to Eleanor and Hobson Realty put up on the website here today. But that is the realtor you need to. If you live in the Mid-South, Memphis, you're moving here, call Eleanor Maynard. She is your realtor, our realtor. Mitch, look at the excitement around these tournaments. And also, you got to look at Bruce Pearl's 1 in 5 in opening games in the SEC tournament. Some teams just go up there and it's like they go through the motions. I didn't think that was the case last night in Auburn and Arkansas, but I think Arkansas was in more of a desperate place than Auburn. I think Auburn is already in the tournament. Arkansas at 8-10, everybody, well, they're in. Well, I don't know, but I think they're doing it smart. Play like you're down 2 strikes when you come up to the plate.
Rob, here's the thing, though. We're going to have a bid stealer out of the Pac-12, it looks like. It looks like Arizona State is paying just house money right now. They're playing in the semifinal round tonight. in the Pac-12 tournament. They dominated USC last night. So that's another reason why for teams like Vanderbilt and Arkansas, man, it's imperative to keep on winning. Same with Mississippi State. I think with Mississippi State's win yesterday and Arkansas's win over Auburn, I think that those two teams are now in the NCAA tournament without question. Now, they might be a lower seed, 10 or 11 seed, whatever, but I think Mississippi State and Arkansas are definitely in the NCAA tournament. Arkansas played with house money yesterday. I mean, they came out, they were loose. There was a lot of Razorback fans in the building. They were calling the Hogs. I mean, it was a pretty rocking environment yesterday, and it felt like old school SEC basketball that was just so phenomenal. But heading into today, Rob, it's going to be a hell of a day for college basketball in the SEC today.
Well, every day it is, but this is a grind. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I'll say also, I like what Coach John Brady said on our show this last week. Come on, guys, you're playing 2 games a week, 2 out of 7. You all think you're going to the NBA. Y'all think you're going to be lottery picks. You're going to play 4 or 5 games a lot of weeks in the NBA. A lot of travel. Across the country, you're everywhere. Being a professional athlete, there's a lot that you've got to do. If you can't handle 2 games a week, man, I'm sick of the whining, man. Aren't you? It's like 2 games a week. How about Charles Barkley said? How about people? He grew up in Birmingham. People get up and go work in those steel mills, 12-hour shift. You think they can call in? Oh, my tummy hurts.
Rob, and that's the thing that I think that separates some of these great teams. When you look at Alabama. Take Alabama for example. Obviously, Alabama has had all the types of different drama this year with the gun stuff. But one thing that Alabama has not let it do is let it get in the way of them so far. I mean, they have come out, they have played Alabama basketball. And yesterday, Rob, I actually have a funny story for you. So I showed up at Bridgestone Arena, probably 10:30, 10:45, because I had to do a podcast, do a live show yesterday from inside Bridgestone. Got there, was going to set my bag down so I could check my laptop out. Alabama actually had an SEC official come over to me and removed me from practice. They were doing a practice, and every other school has done open practices, leading up to their game. But it really seems like the paranoia is there for Alabama basketball right now.
You say the paranoia?
Mm-hmm.
Expand.
So it really feels like Alabama is, scared to let anybody in right now. They are scared that somebody's going to find out some kind of information on Brandon Miller. They're scared that, really and truthfully, Rob, I think Nate Oates is going to be using a lot of the gun stuff as motivation for a team that says everybody's out to get us. Nobody wants us to win. Everybody's just, out to get Alabama, blah, 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 blah. That's what I kind of mean about the paranoia. It really feels like Alabama's just paranoid of allowing anybody that's not in an Alabama crimson shirt to be around their program. And I kind of got the vibe yesterday, literally as I was just going in to set down my book bag so I could reserve a spot for yesterday. Their coaches had me removed from.
Well, what was the press conference like? Were there people asking hard questions?
So we have not had any media availability with Alabama just yet. Obviously, we're going to have some today after the Mississippi State game. But I thought it was interesting. I don't agree with the question, but I thought it was an interesting question from Joseph Goodman from AL.com, who covers Auburn and Alabama. He asked every coach yesterday. Again, I don't agree with the question. I think it's just kind of a dumb question, but whatever. He asked every coach yesterday if they had a gun policy for their program. And he asked Chris Yans, who, by the way, Rob, I'm the only Mississippi State media guy here. There's nobody else here. So I got to ask a lot of questions of Yans yesterday. Got to, talk about our team, talk about Mississippi State basketball. Got a lot of great information, from him. But it was a dumb question. Like, Yans answered the question. He goes, man, I don't think I can answer that question. Rick Barnes, I think went into detail. I wasn't in the press conference with Rick Barnes. I was busy doing something else. But, it was an interesting question that I think that now that I'm kind of looking back on this stuff, I realize why Alabama's not allowing certain media guys to ask questions, because you have to word the questions professionally. I mean, you get you in the press conference and ask a really, really dumb question and expect not to, get a dumb response, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the sworn duty of the press is to hold those in positions of authority accountable. Okay. The only dumb questions are the ones you don't ask. But, think about the questions you are asking. But try not to ask open-ended questions that you know the answer to. But hard questions from true grit journalists are what we need. And as far as, hey, look, this isn't about you're against guns. It's just what's the policy. I'm curious. Say at Alabama, at Mississippi State, at Vanderbilt, what's the policy for having a loaded handgun on campus?
That's a really good question. I hadn't done a whole lot of research because obviously with covering Mississippi State down here and covering the rest of the SEC, I hadn't had a chance to even think about that kind of stuff. Because I know that, at Mississippi State, I know that you can't have a loaded gun obviously on campus because that poses a threat. It's public land, it's a government land. But back to basketball. One thing to watch out for about Mississippi State, man, watch out for DJ Jeffries today. I think that Yan kind of hinted that in the press conference yesterday. Getting more out of DJ. DJ only had 4 points yesterday, 6 rebounds. So he didn't have a great game. He's going to have a bigger game against Alabama today if Mississippi State wants to have a chance. Obviously, Tolu had 26 points yesterday from Mississippi State. Cameron Matthews had a really good game. Shaquille Moore had a really good game. Mississippi State's going to have something out of DJ. He's going to have to be the guy that is the enforcer. Either that or get Brandon Miller in foul trouble. DJ Jeffries is going to be put on Brandon Miller. That's going to be the matchup to watch out for today. And, talking to Chris Jans yesterday, he's excited about the matchup, but he's also anxious. We've got to get something out of DJ Jeffries today. DJ's just one of these guys that even at Memphis, DJ was a very lazy player. He felt like he was too good to be on the court with other people, but now his draft stock is completely bottomed out and he's not even projected to get drafted. DJ's got to step up today for Mississippi State.
Yeah. Well, just got an observation from Principal Leonard Skinnard from Jacksonville, Florida, old PE teacher down there, the ghost of Principal Leonard Skinnard. Don't be astonished if Mississippi State sneaks up on Bama today, especially in the first half. Well, it could happen.
I've been calling that for how long have I been calling that, Rob? For every time that I get a chance to talk about Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I get to talk about how great I've seen this team. I mean, this is a team that beat TCU, a TCU team that is likely to compete for the Final Four. And there was a lot of Mississippi State fans there yesterday behind the bench. I don't know if you were watching. They all had Yans the Man shirt. And I put out a tweet looking for somebody to get me that shirt from my father-in-law, who's a Mississippi State graduate. He played baseball down here.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for Mississippi State to, to further brand Mississippi State basketball for the future. Yeah. And Yans has done a damn good job of being a head coach right now. I mean, he's really good in his first season.
Mitch, let's go back. Mississippi State has a lot of folks. There's a large media contingent that cover the Bulldogs. Yeah. I'm shocked that you were the only one there covering. I mean, no Steve Robertson and any of those guys? None of them?
Steve's a good friend of mine. He's normally on the baseball beat. Baseball's got a pretty big series this weekend. I forgot who they played. Some big name series. I don't think Mississippi State people really realized or didn't expect Mississippi State to be in this position. Just the way that the season ended, losing to Vanderbilt, whatever. But I have not seen anybody. I texted Robbie to see if Robbie was coming up and heard back. So I was hoping to have Robbie on my live show. That's the only reason why I texted him. Robbie's a good friend of mine, and all the people at Gene's pages, they're great people. Steve Robertson's been texting me while I'm up here. He's like, I need some information, and people back at Ole Miss that didn't make the trip because they're back at home. Ole Miss plays for baseball this weekend. They've been texting me the same thing. Hey, Mitch, can you get press conference quotes? Can you do this? Can you do that? So I feel like I've kind of got the state of Mississippi in my back right now, which is kind of ironic compared, for the reason that I literally just moved down to the SIP, and now I am fully immersed in the Mississippi way of living, and pulling for the state and being excited about both programs and or all three programs in Southern Miss as well.
Yeah, well, again, baseball is really big in Mississippi and in the SEC. Dudley Dawson covers Arkansas for Hogville.net on with us yesterday, or Wednesday. He's going to be in Fayetteville for the baseball series this weekend. Now Arkansas's got a lot of people up there, but I think again, this is the busy time of year. You got the SEC basketball tournament, then you got March Madness, you got college baseball in the SEC, which is ginormous. And you got spring practice underway. So,
and you also have, a top 15 softball team at Mississippi State right now that, is having, I forgot who they play. The problem is, Rob, once you get to one of these tournaments and you kind of get full-fledged into covering an SEC tournament, you kind of lose sight of what else is going on inside the other programs that you cover, and you kind of lose sight of baseball and you kind of lose track of, softball until after this tournament. So I'm not really versed on the baseball side of things. I did go watch Mississippi State play 2 weekends ago. It was a great experience. But Yams told me after the press conference, he's like, Mitch, it's just so good to see you down here. We're happy to have you. And, I'm very, very excited, a little anxious to watch this team today. I want to see what, Mississippi State can do with the Alabama physicalness. They got to limit, they got to create the opportunities for Mississippi State to hold Alabama to a certain point, and they can't let Alabama score 90 points. Because Mississippi State can't score 90 points. They don't have the scoring efficiency that everybody else does in the conference. They are a defensive-minded team who Yams inherited. He inherited some talent with Tolu, Cameron Matthews, Kilmore, but he didn't inherit a lot of great high-scoring talent. I mean, Tolu can only do so much. He scored 26 yesterday. He's averaging 22, 23 points a game. Tolu can do much for Mississippi State, and if Mississippi State's going to win this, it's going to be because they got Alabama in foul trouble. It's because they held Alabama defensively, held Alabama to under 65, 70 points. That's the recipe for Mississippi State to win this game on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. Always make them get out of their comfort zone. Make them do what they don't like doing. Mitch, we're going to move on to Jason Caldwell. Let people know how they can keep up with you and follow you, and we'll talk to you again in the morning as you go on day 4 of your SEC Myopic Basketball Odyssey.
Absolutely, Rob. Thank you so much for having me on. It's themitchdavisshow.com, YouTube, The Mitch Davis Show, Mitch Davis _8 on Twitter. Going live on Sunkiss SEC Fanfare. Sorry, the conference gives me a script to read with Sunkiss, and it's Sunkiss SEC Fanfare. We're going live right around 10:30. Going to be talking SEC hoops. Going to be talking to Johnny Ballpark Franks, Blake Lovell. I think even Jack Pilgrim from KSR is going to be stopping by, just talking SEC basketball. And, of course, noon, we're going to have Mississippi State and Alabama, so it should be a really fun day of college basketball here at the Southeastern Conference in Nashville, Tennessee.
All right, be careful, and I'll talk to you later. Tell Johnny Ballpark Franks that we love him. He is one of our favorite guests on the show.
Appreciate it, Rob. I will. Y'all have a great day, okay?
You do too. All right, let's switch gears. Jason Caldwell, not sure where you are, but I got to say this, man. The content you're putting out on the website, I got on the Inside the Auburn Tigers website, had to renew my VIP subscription. I got a lot of these things, and I tell you what, don't ever lose a credit card, have your purse, your wife's purse stolen, or have your identity potentially compromised, because all those automatic debit things that you get, suddenly you're like, where did my thing go? But I got on there and was reading, you're talking about Batey, the 5'8", 160-pounder from South Florida that's coming up to Auburn, the baseball, the football, the softball, gymnastics. I mean, it's like taking a drink of water from a fire hydrant, but it is packed with content. I just got to ask you this. I know you got a 4-year-old daughter. Do y'all ever take off? Because within 3 minutes of the game last night, it was already on the website. And that is just exemplary coverage. I love it.
Yeah, no, Mark and Nathan were in in Nashville. So they were both there. And so they had coverage, immediately, full bore start to finish. And so they were there. I was here with baseball this week and baseball this weekend. So still in Auburn, and then always recruiting. So hey, this is a busy time of year, and trying to kind of keep football in the back burner with a week off for spring practice. And so they'll start ramping up again on Monday. So we'll have all that and the NCAA tournament coverage, find out where the Tigers are going on Sunday. I think probably somewhere around a 10 seed, for this team. And, if they can put things together, this is a team that can go out and compete with pretty much anybody. Saw that in bits and pieces again last night against Arkansas. But rebounding was the difference. One statistic that was the difference in that basketball game is Arkansas just dominated Auburn on the glass, and that in the end that was the story of the game for a team that actually shot it pretty well again, did some things pretty well, created turnovers, did everything they needed to do except rebound, and that cost them a game.
Yeah, Jason, we're going to take a quick break, and I want to get back to it. And I got to tell you, Bruce Pearl's teams, other than the Kentucky game, have been in every game. Most of them down to the wire. They have lost 6 games on the road going into last night's game in the conference by combined 21 points. A few little things happen. This team has 27 wins, maybe. We'll talk right after this quick break. Jason, you talked about, this basketball team last night went down to the final shot. Arkansas was up by 14. Auburn comes fighting back. I think this team, Bruce Pearl's teams reflect him. They love each other. They love their school. It's a lot of fun to watch them play. You're right. They get into the right bracket. They could win in the NCAA tournament. They're down by 14. They come back, take a lead there in the last minute. Then Arkansas gets the shot. And I think the SEC is right there behind the Big 12 in terms of the best league. But a 10 seed, any idea where Auburn will go in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, no, I don't know, because a lot of that's going to depend on kind of the matchups, who's seeded where and what teams. I think, Joe Lunardi had Auburn and Denver in his projection this morning, but he also had Kentucky as the 6th seed in 2 different brackets. So, these guys don't know, and so they'll get a lot of maybe the seedings right, but you just don't know where a team's going to wind up. And, heard West Coast, and then I've heard Orlando. I just don't see how there's any way that Auburn would get sent to Birmingham in that pod. Maybe if you're an 11, you might have a chance to do that. But, in the women's tournament, we've seen that happen a good bit, where they just try to sell tickets and they send a 2 seed to play on somebody else's home court, which it happened to Auburn going to Rutgers, a few years back. And so I think you're going to be sent somewhere else if you're Auburn. And, again, we talked about it. I think this team can compete with anybody.
Yeah.
I just don't know that they're going to win. That it becomes a mind and a mindset. And right now, you look at it and they've been able to pull away from some close games at the end of a few. But I think I went back and looked, and I'll have to go back and look again. But I think inside the last minute, either down or up 3, they're 2-7 this year, and they had the ball in a couple of those. with a one possession game. At Texas A&M, they had the ball down 2 inside a minute in a one possession game and couldn't find a way to win. Tennessee on the road, Vanderbilt on the road, and Arkansas last night on all those have happened in the last month.
Yeah,
We've had 4 of those games in the last month. And can you find a way to make one of those happen? You're going to have to if you want to win a couple of games in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. And, there are people texting me right now saying, hey, you're losing credibility when you say Auburn not maxing out this year. Declare it a miracle if Auburn wins one game in the NCAA tournament. Well, I don't believe that. I mean, the problem is once a team goes to the Final Four, and that was back in April of 2019, but once your mind expands from here to up here, you're never comfortable back there. So these guys and the fans now expect to win every game, but you're not winning the close ones. It's tough, but you've got help on the way in recruiting, but right now you're going to get a tournament bid and the plan is to win. But of the Bruce Pearl teams, this is the 5th time in the last, I guess 4th out of the last 5 years they've gone to the NCAA tournament. They're the winningest program in basketball in the SEC over the last 5 years, correct?
Yeah, I hadn't looked. I'm pretty sure that's probably correct. I know they've won, and that included a year where you had everything go wrong with Sharif Cooper and all those things too. So they've done a good job, and they've put the program where you want to be, which is the expectations are to challenge for an SEC championship, and then to challenge for a high seed and to make a run in the NCAA tournament. Doesn't always happen that way, and it's not happened that way for this team this year. And hey, look, this is not the most talented Auburn team. This is probably the least talented team of this run, including that team that had its share of troubles. This team is frankly overachieved to some degree in doing what they've done. Now, can they go and do something? It doesn't seem likely, but they could. Yeah. But it doesn't seem likely at this point based on what the body of work that we've seen against the top teams they played. And so that's the thing you look at now is can you find lightning in a bottle? They've shot the ball well. They've done those things. Can you put it together, which they've done about twice this year? That's what you'll have to do now. Yeah,
you just wish you had that. As another person is saying that's listening, you wish you had that last second shot closer on the roster, and you had a chance against Alabama, had a chance to tie it last night, and that's just unfortunately how it happens in college basketball. Got a lot of questions from people about football. Robert Jordan, Monticello, Georgia, listener, says, ask Jason again about the defensive side of the ball, the linebacking group. Wanting to know, we know about Cam Riley, Wesley Steiner, Damon Tisdale, and all. Who are some of the newcomers via the portal or high school, like Robert Woodyard? Do you expect him to contribute? But he goes, thanks, Coach. I'll hang up and listen. I love that one.
Yeah, there's only 2 newcomers at linebacker. That was the thing. They had to go to the transfer because they didn't have a signee out of the high school class when they came in, and so they would have been in dire straits without the portal. They were able to add Austin Keys from Ole Miss, who's a big deal. DeMario Tolan from LSU. Yeah, those 2 guys. I think especially Keys because of his size and physical nature. Mm-hmm. I think he's a guy that's going to be on the field. DeMario Tolan is probably he's still like a lot of guys as a redshirt freshman. Got to change his body a little more and got to add, I think, a little bit more size to come in and do those things. Robert Woodyard, I think, is a guy that has a chance to play, do those things. He's a classic kind of middle linebacker guy, really athletic from down in Mobile. And so they've got some bodies and got some things there. The question is, do you have to supplement the pass rush with your linebacker group? And how does that work if you have to do that? Because if you don't have to do that, if you have a Dylan Brooks or, whoever it is, newcomer that transfers in, Elijah McAllister from Vanderbilt, or a true freshman like Keldrick Falk, if you have one of those guys that can help, because you probably need two of them. You got to have two of those guys to step. If you don't have two of those guys that step up and become legit pass rushers, then do you have to start using more linebacker pressure? Because then if you do that, then you have to change the way that you play with that room, and you have to slide Cam Riley outside to help there. I mean, there's just so many questions left unanswered. But I think the linebacker room's in better shape. But you don't know now is do you have to use some of those guys to rush the passer, and that could impact it as well.
Question here: Tate Davis, Charlotte, North Carolina. Camden Browne as a wide receiver. What's his upside? Last year he had 6 catches for the season. I've got to believe this staff knows how to use him.
Yeah, somebody asked me in my mailbag today who I thought would be the breakout player at wide receiver, and I said Camden Browne. I think when you look at him, he looks like the wide receivers that Hugh Freeze had success with at Ole Miss. The physical, longer body guys.
Yeah,
that's who he looks like to me. And so when I think about Cam Browne, I think about a guy that has that understanding of what it takes. He played at St. Thomas Aquinas down in Fort Lauderdale. He's played against good competition. He played with good competition. I thought he was, underused last year as a true freshman. And some of that came when you basically just skin the offense down to bare bones there the last 4 games and said, look, we're just going to try to run the football and see if we can eke out some wins. And that was the right thing to do. But it killed the development of Robbie Ashford in the passing game in the process. But, I mean, that was what it was. But I think now you look at a guy like Camden Browne. I think he's a guy that I thought him and Amari Kelly, both another freshman from last year, showed some glimpses of guys that have a chance to come in and be impact players at wide receiver.
And then you look also the tight end position. We talked so much about it. Auburn's got a tight end room with a lot of guys there that don't have a lot of catches. What's going to be different from what you're seeing in practice, what you're reading, what you're hearing, and how they use the tight end? And, Evan Ingram was a guy that Hugh Freeze had at Ole Miss. 6'3", 225, 230 pounds, kind of a hybrid. You think they'll try that route?
Yeah, I think that's what they want Rivaldo Fairweather to be, the transfer from Florida International.
Yeah.
Was a basketball guy, signed with Florida International, showed a lot of football skills, and then has made the move to Auburn. You look at him, he's a pretty big body. I mean, a little bit bigger, probably 240 or so. So you got to be able to block, and you got to be able to do some of those things in this league. And so can you have that physical nature side enough to where you're not just another wide receiver? Because that's what you got to be able to do. You got to be able to do the things you need to do to be a complete tight end, and then add that dynamic of being a receiving threat. And so, he's the guy that is the most likely of those guys to become a 30-40 catch guy, I think. And in a perfect world, that's what you'd want. But I think you got to see how he develops, how he adjusts to life at this level of playing football at this level and against this competition. And so they're kind of figure that out this spring.
Yeah. And Rivaldo Fairweather coming in, and that if you get you a tight end who can be a difference maker, tall, athletic. I mean, look at Rob Gronkowski, almost 9,000 yards, what he did in the NFL. And he's considered that's a freak, those kind of numbers. But that'll be fun to watch that one. Here's a question I have about Jeremiah Cobb out of Montgomery Catholic. Highly rated running back. But what I really like about him is he's really good at catching balls out of the backfield. Hugh Freeze's offense, he's brought in Philip Montgomery. Expect we'll see him, Damari Austin, Jarquez Hunter, Sean Jackson catching a lot more out of the backfield.
Yeah, I think you'll see those guys use as receivers. You're right, Jeremiah Cobb. He's a guy that's skilled enough that he could line up at wide receiver and play it. I mean, he did it last year in high school. Obviously, it's a different world when you get to college, but he's got the hands to be able to do that. Brian Battie is a guy that you bring in from South Florida. There's a big time kick returner that has obviously good enough hands to do that. That you could add some things in the passing game as well. And so, Yeah, I think that's an extra dimension to the offense that has been missing, and we've talked about it for years. I mean, going back to Kerryon Johnson, that's been an underutilized part of the offense is getting the running backs involved in the passing game and what it can do. And so, yeah, I think you look at it now. Those are things that you can add to an offense without question.
Yeah, and you look at the competition in this league. We know Oklahoma and Texas are going to be coming in the 24 season. And we know about their tradition and all. We know what they're doing in the Big 12 right now. And there'll be a learning curve, but I think they'll also attract a lot of players that they wouldn't get now that they're going to the SEC. Also wonder about a school like Auburn going out to Texas. I know they've done it some. Chad Morris went and got 3 or 4 players when he was here that one year. And they've had a few players, but throughout history, not more than 15 or 20 probably total. With the A&M's already there, the school A&M's got to watch out for is Texas now saying, well, we're not, A&M's not the only option, but you look for Auburn to expand out there. And you go back 20 years ago, Auburn would have players from 8 states. Now it's 20 plus, isn't it?
Yeah, but you might – you're going to pick and choose. I just don't think you can spend a bunch of time, and that's the hard part. Because if you don't spend a bunch of time, then you might have 1 or 2. I still think that if you're Auburn, you got to be Alabama, Georgia, Florida heavy, and that's what they're going to be. And so, I mean, you look and you go get your quarterback from Arkansas and Walker White. I think that's what you do. You look for a couple of certain guys at a couple of certain positions, and you go, hey, that's our top guy on the board, and no matter where he is, you make a run at him. But I just don't think that you're going to go, hey, let's go dig deep into the state of Texas to see what we can find. I don't think it's worthwhile because of the talent level that's increased in obviously in Alabama, Georgia. You start looking at proximity to home and understanding of your program, some of those things. There'll be a couple of guys here or there, but I think for the most part, you're going to keep in your traditional footprint.
Well, I think that makes sense. I just threw that question out there because of them coming in. Your name's going to be out there more and more every day because you'll be playing them in every sport in Oklahoma. But Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and then pick a few here and there from Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, South Carolina. I totally agree with that because those kids, if you sign them, they're not likely to quit because things aren't going their way because they go home. They're going to be labeled as a quitter for the rest of their lives. They don't want to do that. You bring a kid from across the country, he disappears and nobody remembers.
Yeah, no, I think it's part of it. It's part of what you have to do nowadays when kids aren't happy as true freshmen because they're not playing enough, which is inevitable. It happens. It's always happened.
Oh, yeah.
Used to guys said, look, okay, that's fine. I'll work and I'll get better for next year. That still happens, but a lot of times now guys go, I'm going somewhere else. And if you're further away from home, it's easier to pack up and say, I'm going to go back a little closer to home.
Yeah.
Whereas if this is where you are, you've been coming here, you built relationships for years on this campus, then you're more likely to go, no, I'm here because I want to be here. And I think about guys that are here now that, hey, there's a bunch of guys that aren't playing or haven't played as much at Auburn as they would have liked, but those guys are going, you know what, I want to make it work. I want to be here because this is where I want to be. And that's important.
Yeah. And I think, and we got about a minute before the break, but I think it'd be cool to read some stories about kids at Auburn or whatever school you cover, but in this case, Auburn, that talk about how much they love being there, how much they appreciate the opportunity to get an education and all that is offered to them. We need to be hearing more about that. And people, this narrative out there, Jason, that all these athletes are bad and they don't care and they're just, got their hand that I'm not buying that. And that's just not true. But nobody knows more than you and Mark and the folks down there that cover it every day.
Yeah, no, I actually did a couple of those. One of them actually is a kid from Texas, Brandon Frazier, tight end. He talked about it, said, look, I like Auburn. I want to stay. And
Hey, just hold that thought. I'm going to hold you just a couple of more minutes after the break, and I know you got to go, but I want people to hear this because I got 7 people asking me going, why do we never hear about the kids that want to be there? We'll talk right after this.
Hey y'all, it's Ainsley from Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the Horsepower collection, and they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Jason, you were talking about Brandon Frazier right before the break. I want to hear this because that is one of the most often asked questions is, why don't we hear about the kids that want to be at the college where they are? Because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I talked to Brandon, a few weeks back, and he's a guy that people talked about. He was a highly rated tight end from Texas. He said, "Look, it's where I want to be. Auburn is home. I made it my home, and he wants to make it work." Tyler Fromm said pretty much the same things, and so a couple of those guys, there's a lot of those guys like that. Sometimes you don't hear those stories, but they're out there, and like I said, I tried to write a couple of them to give people an idea of some of the guys on this roster that maybe aren't the guys that you hear about every day.
Well, you know what though, Jason, those are the kids that I get a lot of people come to me and say, hey, we're looking for an engineer. We're looking for employees and stuff like that. You've got my number. Let me know, because I know people in Birmingham and Montgomery and Atlanta, Memphis, Nashville, New Orleans, they're going, we need employees. Those are the kind of guys that I want. And I got to credit you. Bo Carter's on here with us right now. That's Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers. Jason in 21 was the Alabama Sports Writer of the Year with inside the Auburn Tigers. Gets to work with people like Philip Marshall and Nathan King, Mark Murphy, a lot of great ones, Stat Tiger. But Jason, it's a credit to you as a journalist to write those stories, and I'm glad you are, because there's just this narrative out there. It's just, a lot of negativity, and I just think that the free market is going to fix all this stuff. And so tell us, last thing, how people can follow you and what you're going to be writing about. Tigers 11-1-1, Butch Thompson and the Fighting Tigers tonight, 3-game series with Southeast Louisiana. I know you're busy, but let people know.
Yeah, can check us out. Like I said, auburnundercover.com, autigers.com as well to get you there. And you can find me on Twitter at ITATJason. And lots of baseball for me this weekend. But football, like I said, ramps back up Monday with spring practice. In basketball, we'll have kind of breakdowns of on Sunday, especially Sunday evening, where the Tigers are going, who they're playing, opponent previews, all those things to get you ready for the NCAA tournament next week.
Yeah, well, it is, your website is packed with content. Folks, if you're looking for a place to read, you got it right here. Jason, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
You bet. Jason Caldwell is really good, Bo. He did some baseball games last year on the Auburn Baseball Network, doing color commentary. He's out of the Marble City, and you know what the Marble City is, don't you?
Silicaga.
Damn right.
Not Talladega, and it is Talladega, Rob.
It's in Talladega County, though.
That's right.
Because Maury Gaston is listening to the show, as he always does. And he is he's one of our team members, board of advisors, and he's from Silicaga. And always references his English teacher that he had at Sylacauga High School, home of the Aggies, Mrs. Velma Goodgame. What a great name for an English teacher in the great state of Alabama. By the way, a little bit of trivia yesterday. Audrey and I were taking a hike at the Park and Archaeological State Park yesterday, and we kept hearing these loud, screaming woodpeckers. One of them, of course, was a pileated woodpecker. The other one was a yellow-shafted flicker, otherwise known as the yellowhammer, the state bird of what state?
Not Alabama. Yeah, it is Alabama, I guess.
It is Alabama.
Yeah, not the mockingbird.
Yeah, but I'm getting some cool stuff right here. Dave Cody just sent this in. Brew McCoy, California kid, signed with Texas, lasted 1 year, transferred to Southern Cal for 1 year, then Tennessee for 1 year. Now, yeah, he's going to get drafted, Dave. No doubt about it. A lot of people forgot about him when he left Texas. Now, Dave says it used to be Talladega per Murray, my frat brother from there. Hey, when you're on I-20 going from Memphis to Atlanta, you look to your right as you're going east. That's one hell of a sight. The Talladega Motor Speedway. It is an incredible sight. Let me say something again real quick as we get into hour number 2 about a new sponsor of ours, Eleanor Maynard with Hobson Realty. You need to know this about her, folks. She's a 4th generation Memphis residential realtor, 3rd generation Hobson realtor, top 5% out of 4,600 realtors in 2022. Yeah, that's a great start. You're moving in, you live in Memphis, you're looking to move in Memphis to Mid-South. You want to sell your house, buy a house, anything to do with real estate, start by calling Eleanor Maynard at Hobson Realty in Memphis. The hyperlink will be up on the website here today, but that's our realtor. She is Sidelines realtor, exclusive realtor. And I will say this, I know Eleanor, I know her husband, Barry. He is the greatest duck hunter, he or Uncle Boyd ever. But we're proud to have her associated with us. Eleanor Maynard, Hobson Realty. You're going to be hearing a lot about her because she is fantastic. She's great at what she does. She loves what she does. Like she says, being a realtor, it's in her blood. Bo Carter, the intern, Fridays, it's like, Tuesdays with Maury. It's Friday, Maury Gaston. But we've got Bo Carter, your background, exemplary, worked in the SID office at Mississippi State and then Southwest Conference office, Big 12 office, writer for the National Football Foundation and the Baseball Writers of America. You're everywhere. You're covering Conference USA basketball tournament, but you're a great writer, and I love it. William is going to join us here in about 11 minutes from Nashville at the SEC tournament, and he's up there covering it. Now, he was covering the Auburn Tigers for the Auburn Plainsmen. I hope he's not in transit, riding back to Auburn on the Greyhound bus, heading south. What's that great Waylon Jennings song about riding on a Greyhound bus? As Maury Gaston always says, though, if you take the Greyhound bus, you'll get there on time. Those that take the Hound will get there on time. But, Bo, there's a lot going on. I mean, talking to Jason Caldwell, you've got Auburn basketball, softball, baseball, gymnastics, spring practice, baseball teams 11-1-1 all over the country. The rites of spring are upon us. And you know what happens March 15th, don't you?
Well, it's the Ides of March, but
that's what I love about having you on. I'm not going to Ite Brute. Yeah, the Ides of March.
Yeah,
March
it's 15th. A March man too.
Yeah, think about that. But I tell you, some of these questions that I get on here, wow. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to do this thing here for you. I'm looking here right now. Dave Cody, another one. Used to be dry, had to be travel back. Yeah, he had to travel back from the track on Sunday to get a case of beer back of the track, infield, Winnebago, circa 1980. And memories of Talladega. Roads of Thunder. All right, Bo. What's your takeaway right now where we are in basketball? We don't really debate it much. I think the Big 12 is the best basketball league in the country, and they're pretty darn good in football. To borrow the quote from the legendary, and I know he's watching from the great broadcast booth in the sky, Jack Crystal. Is there movement in the aisles? Is there movement among conference realignment between the Pac-12 and the Big 12? John Carrero. What's happening?
In his IU's blazer from Canton,
Square in Canton, Mississippi. Yeah.
It's wild, Rob. Colorado met yesterday in a closed door meeting, the Board of Regents, and they things haven't been great since the Buffaloes moved to the Pac-12. So they who knows? It's Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, has made it known that he said, I'd like to get in another time zone, and he's really he's got some songster has written a song about the Big 12. This guy is he reminds me a lot. Our friend Steve Hatchell, he's a big friend of the Liberty Bowl for many years with Earhart, Mr. Earhart, the executive director, and these guys are promoters, man. They're out there working the fields.
Now, didn't Brett Yormark come from New York City? Texas Pete? I mean, come on. No, but they are being aggressive. Look, the holy trinity of Cajun cooking is peppers, onions, and celery.
Mm-hmm.
The holy trinity of influence in college football, college athletics is Dallas, Fort Worth, Birmingham, Atlanta.
Exactly.
So it starts out there. You've got American Athletic Conference headquartered there, Conference USA, the Big 12. Next question I have for you is Arizona State and Arizona, Colorado and Utah to the Big 12. Is that going to be announced Thursday or Friday of next week?
It's a good question. They got the Four Corners region, with all four of those states meet out there or whatever in the Grand Canyon. It's going to be interesting. The Pac-12, and I have a lot of friends out there. Many people I work with just kind of seems to be holding on right now. The TV contract stuff, the multimedia rights contract stuff's kind of gone into limbo or whatever, and they can't. They're talking a lot to Amazon and different people in Fox and ESPN right now. I guess have enough inventory, Rob. They're running out of stuff to do. Plus, you were talking about they're going to really have interesting times. Or the thing that's plagued the Pac-12 throughout the years with TV is the 9 a.m. game one where and midnight in another time zone. So they've had a lot of issues.
Well, and look, we've got to have a Power 5 conference on the West Coast. But the fact that they allowed Larry Scott to dereliction of duty for so many years, and now you've got George Kliavkoff. He's got a background from Las Vegas. Well, we know what goes on in Las Vegas is that you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to be at a nude Shriners convention in Las Vegas after midnight out on the Strip. But I got to say this: you look at the level of interest in the Big Ten now, taking in Southern Cal and UCLA, a 9 a.m. game out there. I mean, I don't like to use the term not fair because you just got to suck it up and deal with it. But let's just say it's going to be inconvenient for people out there.
The team meal is at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So you're seeing eating steak.
Taco Bell's going to sponsor that one. Or Crystal, at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Or like the time. A quick story too. One time, A&M in Texas. It's about a 90 mile drive from Austin to College Station, Texas. Like a lot of teams like to get in the night before or whatever. And they were staying at a hotel, and the cook didn't show up Thanksgiving morning when they're playing Thanksgiving night game. Yeah. And Mac Browne was in the kitchen cooking pancakes and bacon and eggs. Went back. Wow. Daddy Mac. He's always on the radio. One of the all-time great guys.
Yeah, he is. And I heard that when he was at Texas, he rode around in that golf cart, managing everything. And, it's just the people he'd have riding in there were basically the people that running America and the world, going out there and going to practice. You can't. How do you tell those guys no? Something interesting though. We're talking so much about what conferences are going to try to come in, make a move. The SEC is going to 16, and if they made a move, this is not a slight against Florida State or Clemson, which are both great tradition-rich programs. But the SEC, Florida State, and Clemson, they've already got those states. Why bring sand to the beach?
That's right. It's good. Good point. They and again, the 16 seems like a right number.
Yeah.
If they play what they're talking about and go to a 9-game SEC schedule, you'll have 3 permanent opponents. Which Nick Saban is not happy about. Georgia, Tennessee, and Auburn has three possible. That's rumored. I don't know. He's looking at the possibilities, but everybody wants Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, right?
Look,
they can't
Auburn's going to have Georgia, Alabama, and Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking they would get to keep LSU or Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
That Mississippi State rivalry is a long rivalry. So was Florida. So was Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech stopped in 87 when they went to the ACC. When you look around, it's always darkest before dawn. In the stock market, you hear that all the time. And this morning, I'm watching on one of the financial networks about Apple, the stock being downgraded. Okay. And that doesn't surprise me. And the reason given, though, was people aren't upgrading their phones as often as they used to, or they thought they would be doing. I've got an iPhone 6. I'm kidding. No, I've got I think it's an 11 that I bought October the 11th of 2019. We bought the 2-for-1. Nothing's free. They're making their money. But Apple's got a lot of money, a lot of cash. I've got this in my head, Bo. Why wouldn't Apple go buy ESPN or Fox? Because everybody uses this. This is what they watch on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And especially the Gen X and Gen A people and Gen Z. The other thing too, you got to the CEO of Auburn Apple is a fellow Auburn grad, Tim Cook, and he's been on the board of directors for the Football Foundation. He's a very big sports fan.
He's a Baldwin County boy from Robertsdale. Damn right. It's big. But Bo, I just now with you understand all the complex minutia and all the working parts behind these big contracts. And I got to ask you this. SEC, $49.9 million is what each of the schools got for the 21-22 year. We don't know the 22-23 because it hadn't wrapped up yet. I thought they gave those checks out down in Destin.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yep.
Okay, so that's what they're going to get. But the check's not in the mail, is it?
No, they actually are.
And I just out of curiosity,
direct deposit. One of the
yeah. I was going to say, do they wire that with the routing number, the account number, and $49.9 million shows up in your account? Oh yes, that was from the Underhills, Ted and Gloria Underhill. A big gift. All right, so we're going to go to a break. We're going to come back. We're going to get back into the SEC tournament, but all this talk about conference expansion, Bo, it gets people excited, but in reality, there's still everywhere you go, every fan base is fully vested in what they're doing. And I don't want to have just 2 conferences. You want sports to be good everywhere. But you talk about the Premier League and the other leagues and whatever. We're going to get into that discussion because you got all these sports going on right now. Look at the interest. That's what we're talking about. We'll be right back with Bo Carter and the intern.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, we are back with the intern, William Halliday, Bo Carter. Remember the movie Trading Places, Bo, when Randolph and Mortimer Duke first brought Billy Ray Valentine into their office, and he said, "William, my boy." He goes, "Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn." That was one of the great ones. But William Halliday, the intern, is with us right now, and Bo Carter out in Dallas. William, we just had Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers on, Mitch Davis before that, who's up in Nashville covering the SEC tournament, the MitchDavisShow.com. You were at the game last night. I guess you saw a lot of games yesterday. Once again, goes down to the very end. Auburn loses another close game. That's now 7 losses on the road in the SEC by a combined 24 points. This team plays a full 40 other than the Kentucky game. What was the takeaway from what you saw last night? As the intern disappeared, he'll come back. But Bo, now I don't know. Were you watching TV?
Yeah, I did. It was really great.
The neighbors, did the neighbors have the blinds pulled up on the color TV?
No. It was.
That cable's expensive, Bo.
Oh man, like the commentator said, Rob, it was the atmosphere like a final championship game.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Those teams, 2 of the great coaches, Eric Musselman and Bruce Pearl, just like kind of going head to head at the strategy sessions. Auburn almost got the 3 there at the end. He had a great look and just bounced off the rim. So
he had a great look.
But and like I said, the SEC is just so deep in talent this year that it's. I mean, look at. Vanderbilt beat LSU last night, but LSU, it broke a 6-game winning streak for Vandy earlier when Liam Robbins was still playing before he got hurt. So it's anybody can beat anybody in that league.
The big guy, Liam Robbins, broke his leg. I mean, and I think about Anthony McLemore, February the 17th of 2018 at the Auburn, South Carolina game, broke his leg up in Columbia down under the goal, but that was a tough one. But this Vanderbilt has won 8 of their last 9. Boom Cumberland, as they say up in Nashville. Boom Cumberland. Am I right?
That's right. They're Jerry Stackhouse and Buzz Williams co-coaches of the year. So really, Stackhouse came from an NBA background and played at North Carolina under Dean Smith.
Oh, yeah.
You look at the success they've had. They really. It's kind of a weird deal. Some transfers, a couple of kids that just sort of came into their own this year, and they're on a roll right now. They might win it all. They got Kentucky tonight.
Yeah. Hey, Bo, I have to pull for Vanderbilt. It's in my DNA. My grandfather, Greenfield, and his brother, Cadwallader, both from Helena, Arkansas, went to VMI and Vanderbilt Law School, and both practiced law. And I've followed Vanderbilt since I was a kid because I was told to. So, always kept up with that, as I have the Auburn Tigers. All right. Billy Ray Valentine, William Halliday, the intern, is with us right now. William, let's go for a take 2 on that. Your thoughts, your takeaways from Auburn's 76-73 loss, but the overall SEC tournament, the feel for it, what it's like being there, your impressions, and how Nashville's handling putting on this big event.
Yeah, this is my 3rd time going to the SEC tournament, so it's a fun time going. Yesterday, it was a good time watching the Auburn game against Arkansas. They were definitely down the first half, and they had to scramble their way back. But I thought they did a good job coming back. In my preview that I wrote for the Auburn Plainsman, I put 3 keys to the game. The first one of them was turnovers, containing turnovers. They were able to do that. They had 10 turnovers compared to Arkansas's 19. So they won that. Rebounding, they did not win. They lost 36-19 in the rebounding battle. That was bad. And then the third one, containing Nick Smith. They were not able to do that in the second half. They did it the first half, containing him to 2 points. But the second half, he hit 2 triples in the corner and then a shot to give them the lead in the closing seconds. So that's the main key, was containing Nick Smith, and they weren't able to do it in the final minute of the game.
Yeah, he's a special talent. Eric Musselman, I think, is an outstanding coach. He's had Arkansas in the Elite Eight the 2 previous seasons, and his father, Bill Musselman, was a longtime NBA coach, and Eric's got that NBA in his DNA. I hope they don't have a parabola or a microphone anywhere near his conversations over on the side, which they, by the way, I've been on the sidelines in a few football games when I was doing TV stuff and all. That big round thing is called a parabola, and it picks up the sound. I mean, that's not fair to put that anywhere near a coach when he's talking to a player or another coach during the heat of the moment during the game. But, man, William, that's a good takeaway. You got to win the rebounding battle. Overall, SEC-wise, I'm going to throw this to you, and then, Bo, you get to watch a lot of college basketball. You think the SEC, Alabama, 16-2, they won the league. A&M 15-3, they got second. You think the SEC is one of the 2 or 3 best leagues in the country, or is it just a bunch of average teams just beating the hell out of each other night in and night out? Bruce Pearl talks about we've all beat the crap out of each other. I mean, it is a tough league, but what do you think, William, Billy Ray Valentine, Halliday?
Yeah, I definitely believe we're SEC is a top 2 or 3 league. I mean, I put Big 12 first, obviously, because they've got a ton of ranked teams, and you see all their wins are quad 1 wins if they have them. But, yeah, I definitely believe the SEC is, because I think I saw in the latest bracketology for Joe Lunardi, he had the SEC as the second leading team with the most teams in SEC or in the NCAA tournament. So that's something if you want to take away from that. But, yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. A question for you, Bo Carter. I don't know Joe Lunardi. Has he ever left his basement ever in his life?
Or Chris Cream, whatever the other guy is with the women. They actually trotted him out for the SEC women's. I guess he actually is not a robot. But anyway, but no, and William saw one of the weirdest games yesterday. The Mississippi State, Florida. I think Mississippi State missed 17 layups, Rob. They need to find a shooter somewhere. There's got to be a guy that can shoot the ball somewhere in Mississippi. Yeah. But Chris Jan's done amazing. They've got the best defensive team in the country, seemingly. Yeah. So, and Tolu Smith, 28 points and 12 rebounds.
He couldn't hit a free throw, though.
I know. They said the Hack-a-Shack. Rob's heard about the Hack-a-Shack. They've got the Hack-a-Tolu these days. I can't this, but it's,
well, let me say this. Talking about missing 17 layups. Pat Bradley, the shooter, he talked about this. Arkansas at home last Saturday against Kentucky missed 18 of 20 layups. Oh, gosh. I mean, look, as he goes, I'm not a math major. I'm from Everett, Mass. But I do the math. That's 10%. You got to be a better shooter. I mean, God, that's inexcusable. What does Nick Saban always say? Control the controllables. What can you do on your own as long and as many times a day as you want to? Nap, shoot free throws, and study the playbook. William, I mean, you're a hell of a basketball player. You played at MUS. How many hours a day? I know your dad, a hell of a tennis player too, but how many hours a day? You didn't play for the legendary Jerry Peters. He was incredible coach there. Or Jake Rudolph. But repetition is the mother of all skill, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is. It definitely is. I definitely practice my layups when we had the chance to. And just, you have them in layup line. Like, what's the point of layup lines? Is to make your layups. Like, I feel like a bunch of players they go through the motions and they don't really go full speed through the layup lines. That's something that both our coaches at MUS and my elementary school taught us. Just go 100% in layup lines and just act like it's a real game. Doesn't seem like they're just taking it like AAU. So they're going to have to figure it out sometimes sooner or later.
the 7th grade coach, Dax Miller at MUS. I used to watch him do the loose ball drill before the game. He would bowl the ball like a bowler, like Roy Munson, or Dick Weber or Dick Button. He would roll that ball, and you'd have to run out there, and you dive on the ball and roll over 3 or 4 times to get a good case of floor burn all over your body. But you've got to hustle. I mean, Bo, if you hustle and you play great defense, that can be an extra 8 or 10 or more possessions a game and can result in an extra 10 or 12 points. Look how many close games teams lose. It's really effort. Make some effort.
And we have Buzz Williams does that, roll the ball down the floor and it's like 2 guys go after it. The one that gets it gets to dress in. And William remembers this. We used to, back in the old days with the late great Bill Whitlock in high school, our coach, you had to make 10 free throws in a row or you didn't dress in. So the pressure you had to you had to make some free throws before you left the court.
Yeah.
So they probably need to get that. Tolu Smith needs to do that this morning in the shoot around for Mississippi State, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, by the way, The Invasion of the Body Snatchers was a great movie. The Invasion of the Ladybugs. They're all over the table here in the studio here at Lee Hall. They're everywhere. Doesn't that mean good luck, though? Ladybug? Don't harm the ladybugs. Okay. All right. William, I'm going to throw this one at you right now. As you're writing more and more, and you're getting exposed to a lot of different sporting events, Bo Carter, let's get back to the classroom here real quick. Bo, what would you say to someone like William, Billy Ray Valentine, the intern, who's up there at an SEC basketball tournament, 14 schools, there's a lot going on. How do you structure your time so it's well spent? What would you do at a tournament like this? Because they're coming at you from every angle.
And I'm sure William's doing this. First thing, go up to Greg Sankey and introduce yourself. I'm with the Auburn. Honestly, Mr. Sankey's always open to meeting student journalists and just really to think networking around the bill. I mean, I know you're on deadline for some of the writing because boy, it's amazing how Robin Williams.
I'll tell you what, Mr. Carter, I actually saw right when I walked out my ticket or like my section. Paul Feinbaum was right there.
Oh, good.
I had a chance to. I did get a chance.
Sorry,
William. Yeah, but I've actually called into his show before, but he's a nice guy, and I'd like to talk to him. I don't know about what my dad says about him, but
look, hey, let me tell you, he went to Christian Brothers High School and he transferred after his sophomore year to White Station High School. So you look on the SEC network. 2 of the high profile, Dane Bradshaw played at Tennessee for Bruce Pearl, went to White Station. He's a Spartan. Okay. Paul Feinbaum, oh my God. He is good about bringing on young journalists on his show.
Get on there.
And Bo and I are telling you this, and William, your father, your mom, your grandfather, grandmother, we all read the newspaper coming up. You write for the Plainsman, it's online, but I'm telling you, stuff goes in cycles. Everybody's running from a printed newspaper. We don't need all this. A great sports section is like caviar and a 200-year-old bottle of French wine. That's the best. I cannot say this, William, with enough of an emphasis. Write like you're writing in the old days. Get people excited. Ask tough questions, but I have such respect for true grit journalists. Don't just insert your opinion into things. Get the facts and let your readers, your listeners, be the judge. Bo, is that fair?
Yes, and like we were saying, in line with going to meet Paul Feinbaum and Greg saying, when you're at those things, William, I know William does this. Go around and meet some guys and ladies from the federal, student newspapers, and also. Nashville, Tennessee, and the late great Birmingham News, I guess online or whatever.
Online,
but no, the more people you can meet, honestly, you establish relationships. Sometime there may be a writer from Tuscaloosa that wants to call you and say, "Hey, William, what's going on with Auburn right now?" Or the Bill Self situation up at where he's been in the hospital in Kansas City. You establish relationships with people. Yeah, he thinks he's going to miss the Big 12 tournament. They said it's a vascular problem of some sort that's going to keep them hospitalized for a few days. But I mean, you meet people. Hey, you might even meet a doctor that could tell you, what might be going on or whatever to you. It's networking is about 80% of the sports writing business now.
And remembering, William, when someone says it's off the record, it's off the record.
No, I've recognized that with Coach Pearl. He said that a few times. Yeah.
That's right. Sources close to the situation.
Yes. When you are you Greg Sankey, have you met Herb Vincent yet?
I have not. No, sir.
Oh man, you got to meet Herb Vincent. He's an LSU guy. He's from Little Rock, but he was at LSU for a long time. But he's in the SEC office. He is just one of the genuinely good people in sports media, but helpful beyond belief. Introduce yourself, and I always make a point to say I want you to know how much I appreciate everything you do for me and all of us, and you don't have to do it, but you did it. Always let people know that they matter. And when you write stories about people, William, you're going to find that a lot of times they're going to take them and have them laminated on a plaque and framed, and it'll be in their office for decades. So, it's really important to get that right. But you got to go. Are you still in Nashville?
I am. Yes, sir.
Okay. You got to go meet Paul Feinbaum and go do a story about him. I think he would be, when David Letterman retired, we lost comedy on late night TV. Paul Feinbaum is an incredible interviewer. He's hilarious. Oh my God. Could you imagine him with Letterman, those two, and Larry Bud Melman and Brother Theodore? Some of those characters, that would be incredible. But William, we're about to go to a break. We're going to come back with some more stuff. But of all the stories that you've written so far in the 45 seconds, what's your best? What's your favorite one? And what kind of response did you get from it?
It was definitely my first time getting to go to a game and cover. It was the Auburn versus Memphis game. That was my favorite one, just getting to cover that and go to Atlanta and get to go through all the process and stuff like that. But that was my favorite one, and the reaction out of it was great just because my editor thought it was a great article, and just other people around me thought it was a really good article.
Did you write for the Daily Fabarian when you were at MUS?
It wasn't called that, but it was.
Well, that was Animal House, Faber College.
Yeah, it was called that.
The Daily Fabarian.
Yeah.
Well, William, I'm going to tell you what. I'm waiting to get hooked up online, the auburnplainsman.com. And because if you change an email address, you're in purgatory, and it can be years. But I'm looking forward to getting back to that. When we come back, we're going to get into some history of SEC basketball and some football, and we're going to blow you away with how smart Billy Ray Valentine, the intern, is right after this. Now, William, let me just say this, and I think Bo would concur. When you do go up and meet Paul Feinbaum, I'll never forget one time I was in the bookstore at Auburn before a game years ago, and this old boy was out there talking about him, Bo, and he goes, "Yeah, I look at old Paul Feinbaum on the TV the other day. He's pretty damn funny. Feinbaum." Like, Paul Feinbaum. But when you meet him, William, you have to go up to him and ask him, how's Mildred doing? I don't know how old Mildred is. I'm going to guess she's over the age of 80. But William, I suggest you go to the archives and look it up. Mildred on Feinbaum.com. Paul, hey, Paul, I was up in Nashville at the tournament with Bruce Pearl. He was hollering, and I was crying. Auburn lost, but Alabama plays today. Ask him how Mildred's doing. All right, a little bit of history here. William, you take a look. Since Y2K, the year 2000, okay, which conference has won more national championships in basketball? The Big Ten or the SEC?
Big Ten.
Nope. SEC.
Really?
Michigan State was the last Big Ten team to win it all in 2000. Coach Tom Izzo. Nobody has gotten more out of a national championship than Tom Izzo. Why? Because he's the last one in the Big Ten to do it. All right. Florida has won twice as many national championships.
I forgot about Florida.
They won 06 and 07. Of course, Arkansas won in 94. Kentucky won it in 2012. Okay. Auburn got close in 2019. Alabama's making a quest for it right now. All right. Bo, a bit of trivia question here. The SEC tournament, after a hiatus from the early 1950s, resumed play in 1979 in, as they say, Birmingham. In Birmingham, they love the governor. Ooh. Okay, now, Auburn and Georgia played 4 overtimes. You remember what Georgia coach Hugh Durham said in his high-pitched voice after the game? How come Auburn, the only team Auburn can beat is Georgia? They can't beat anybody else. Auburn won in 4 overtimes, 95-90. I'll tell you one time, my friend Rob Ruffin's mother and I, we were at a Memphis game. Hugh Durham was coaching at Florida State at the time. And Lindy Ruffin knew Hugh Durham. They grew up together. So after the game, we went riding around in the car with him, and he was unbelievable. He was going, well, coaching college basketball's a tough thing. There's a lot going on out there. Hugh Durham was incredible. All right, William, looking now to in college basketball, got a question here. What's the sentiment of the student body about the basketball season at Auburn? I want to win it all every year. I understand there's always another team on the court. I'm okay with where we are. Hopefully William has business cards and gives them out when he meets others. And may I add the advice of one of my best friends, the late Barry Blackburn, who went to Auburn with me, my attorney. Get their business card first. Okay, get their card first, and then you give them yours if you've got some. But get their cards. If you give out 5 business cards every day, he used to say, 2 of them are going to keep them. 2 of them are going to give them to somebody else, and 1 of them is going to end up on the sidewalk. So if you do the math, 365 days a year, that's at least 730 people are going to get your business card. And think about how many you can get, all the contacts and the relationships that you have. So that's a huge deal. But what are the thoughts on is Pearl must go? Pearl must go. That's the world we live in now. I'm kidding. Hey, what other coach goes out there and buys 1,000 Domino's pizzas for the students that are standing in line? You see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
He makes people feel like they matter, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I actually heard a story the other day that Bruce, to drum up attention for the basketball team back when he first came to the school, he went to different classrooms, fraternities, trying to drum up attention. He got people to start coming before they were started to be good with him. Yeah. I'm not vying for him to be fired anytime soon.
I wasn't advocating. I was being facetious.
No, I know, but if there are people out there that are trying to do that after this year, it's crazy to think that. But just for those people that are thinking that, just no, don't think that. He just took us to the Final Four a few years ago and just had a really good season last season. So I'm waiting. I'm going to give it some time before I think about even considering that possibility, but no, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
I think great days are ahead for Auburn. Bruce Pearl is incredible, as is Butch Thompson. Bo, looking at the SEC coaching, Ben Howland came to Mississippi State with 3 Final Fours in his hip pocket. He couldn't win, but Mississippi State has a really good tradition in basketball. Watching that SEC hoops history about Dante Jones, that was, the scholar that he is, he took 36 hours in summer school and passed it all. William, did you know that? Dante Jones passed 36 hours in summer school. Nothing to that. No big deal. Do you know where he was from, where he played his high school basketball?
Did he play at State for college?
Yeah, but he's from Nashville.
Oh, okay.
Don't think about that.
Brentwood?
Yeah. No, I'm not sure. I think he went.
I think it's Pearl Cone. I was
going to say Pearl Cone. Yeah, Bo. See, these high schools are legendary. Okay, but bottom line, Bo, with where we are in SEC basketball, and I mentioned Bruce Pearl. That was a question from who was that? From Yule Gibbons. That was from Yule Gibbons about Bruce Pearl. Ever eat a pine cone? Okay, but I got to say this, Bo. Top to bottom, 1 through 14 in the SEC. We know Oklahoma and Texas are serious about their basketball. You bring in a Ben Howland. Georgia brought in Tom Crean. And he turned green and was fired within 4 years. They were 1-17 last year. It wasn't like he didn't know how to coach basketball. And he'd had success at Indiana. He'd been in the Big Ten. He'd been around. There's only so many teams that are going to be top notch. But ever since Mike Slive made that commitment back in 2014, when the SEC network came in, did you get the impression then that SEC basketball was about to mean a hell of a lot more?
Yes. And by the way, Tom Crean is the brother-in-law of both the Harbaughs. He's married to their sister. So quite a family there.
Yeah.
No, but getting back to your question, I think Mike Slive was definitely a big basketball guy. Going back to his days at Conference USA, when Memphis and Louisville were so reigned supreme over there. So no doubt about it, they've made a big commitment to basketball. And basketball is always of course Kentucky, the literal blue bloods, but like you're saying, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Alabama had some great teams in the 50s. Johnny D, the old Notre Dame coach that came down there, and they've William can go back and look at the history of this. There've been many great programs again, Mississippi State with Dave McCarthy. You've had epochs kind of this stuff happening, but they're Billy Donovan at Florida winning the 2 national championships in a row. There are times when sort of cream has risen to the top there.
Yeah. William, when you're looking at basketball, and I ask you this question, I think I'm not going to be surprised if Apple doesn't make a bid to buy ESPN or Fox. I wouldn't be surprised at all, because at least kids of your generation, your iPhone is almost everything. When was the last time you went to the store to buy a radio, an alarm clock, or a camera? Okay. And that's where I'm going with this. And people are, or how many people do you see walking around holding a transistor radio up to their ear because they're listening to something on the radio? They're doing it with this. Okay. That's where you get your information. Is that, am I right on? I've got kids 22, 24, 27, 34 that I know of, but they all, it's this, but they will watch a game on TV.
You're right on. I don't see anybody getting a radio and just putting it up on their shoulder or something and listening to it. No, I don't see anybody doing that.
Because I look, like we do this show, it's on, the podcast, it's live, it goes on the podcast, it goes on radio stations and all. Love terrestrial radio. There's just a lot of places people get their information from. And, now we're getting into the NCAA tournament, William. I want you to give me your Final Four, pick the teams that you think are going to get there, that's a tough one because most people will tell you there might be 20 this year that could win it all.
Okay, I've given a lot of thought about this, and so here's my philosophy on this. So almost every year there's been a school or a team in the tournament seeded 5 or below that's made it. So that's going to be a struggle on its own trying to figure that out. So I'm just going to come up with a team for that. My team for that, I think, if there is 5 seed, is Connecticut. It's random, but like they were doing really well at the start of the year, and they had won an in-season tournament and had all these statistics and numbers and Ken Pom and everything. So that's like my team to like go all the way and make a run or something. And then you have some other teams. I think Arizona, even though they've lost some games, I like them a lot. And then honestly, like there's going to be one Big 12 team just because of how good they are. I'm going to go with Kansas again, just because they have the most quad 1 wins in the entire NCAA. And then my other team, I'm going to pick Houston. That's what I'm going to pick. They've just, I mean, their only one loss that I could think of that's been bad is just a 1 point loss to I think it was like Tulane or Temple. And they have really good numbers too, and they've got a bunch of older guys. So I'm just going to go with them. I probably could put more thought into it, but that's what I've got right now.
Yeah, and you notice no Bama, no Kentucky, no Tennessee. Golly, something tells me one of those 3 teams is going to surprise a lot of people.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kentucky gets there.
I know.
Because of how they've been playing, but I just think Tennessee, they haven't proven it yet, and just even really getting past the Sweet 16 yet with Barnes, and then just Bama, they've had a lot of stuff going on with the Brandon Miller stuff. So I can see Kentucky, but I don't really see Bama.
You have the makings of a great journalist. You know why? Because you explained why your decision on each of those 3 schools. That is very impressive. Before we go to Bo Carter, let me say, most often when we see the face of Christ in the least among us, we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Go out and help people. Let them know they matter. Somebody you may know, write them a letter, send them a note. I saw that man that was wounded over in Ukraine, lost his legs, and he said the same thing. Let people know they matter. My wife says it every day. And let me say this too about one of our sponsors. Proud to be associated with Eleanor Maynard, Hobson Realty. Just some bullet points you need to know. She is a 4th-generation Memphis residential realtor, 3rd-generation Hobson realtor, top 5% out of 4,600 realtors in 2022. We'll put the hyperlink for Eleanor Maynard and Hobson Realty up on the www.sidelines.live website here today. You'll be hearing a lot about her. She is an outstanding talent, great mother of 2 boys. Her husband, Barry, known him a long time, perhaps the greatest duck hunter along with Uncle Boyd I know of. But Eleanor Maynard, Hobson Realty. She is Sidelines Realtor. Location. You live in Memphis. You are looking to sell a house, buy a house. You're looking to move to Memphis. Call Eleanor Maynard, Hobson Realty. She is the official Sidelines Realtor. Proud to be associated with her. Bo, give me your top 4. And by the way, I never say he's a friend of mine. He's a friend of mine. He's on the bubble. They're the first 4 in. They're the first 4 out. I mean, it drives me crazy. But Bo, give me your final 4. And I know you're going to get your crystal ball. Rub it on.
No. Williams done a great job of research. I agree with him. The 3, and I think a little hometown or Memphis backs in their 2 AAC teams with maybe instead of Connecticut. I think Penny's got them playing pretty well. If they don't get drummed in the conference championship, they just played a 2-point game with Houston last Sunday, so they're big Penny. I just hope they bring little Penny back. That's one thing that we're before William was born, they had the little Penny commercials, but those things are hilarious.
Those were awesome. Well, the cool thing about it is, you're picking a Final 4. That took some thought picking UConn. I like that. Now they've won 3 national championships. So, here's one for you, Bo. when is – do you think Chris Beard gets the Ole Miss job? I mean, from what you're hearing out there in Texas, is everything – I mean, look, they got to do their due diligence, but that guy can coach his arse off.
He really can, and he's been exonerated of the charges in Austin, so he's a free agent, and man, he's done well everywhere he's been. So it would be a great coup for Ole Miss to get him.
Yeah, that will be interesting to watch. All right, look, we're going to do this again next week. Got a lot to talk about because college basketball, the popularity of the sport, and William, Bo, and I are old enough to remember. I'd say 1979, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Indiana State, and Michigan State. Michigan State won the national championship with Judd Heathcote. You know, he looked like Mel from Mel's Diner. Remember that? Looked just like him. But hell of a coach. But, William, are you going to stay through the duration on Sunday at the SEC tournament?
We'll see about Sunday. Probably most likely Saturday, but we'll see about Sunday depending on who gets there. If it's Bama and Kentucky, I don't know. We'll have to see. So
that'll be a madhouse. The Kentucky Nation, holy cow! But the passion of these SEC fans is just there's nothing else like it. But Bo, you're writing for the National Football Foundation, Baseball Writers of America. Billy Ray Valentine, William Halliday, writing for the Auburn Plainsman. True grit journalism. Bottom line, keep doing it. Practice your craft. And Bo, parting words of wisdom for any young journalist out there, including our man Billy Ray.
Well, William, I just subscribed to the Plainsman during the commercial, so another faithful subscriber there. No, but again, like I said, do your homework, fact checking, do some networking, make sources. You get good sources, and remember, off the record means off the record. So you're always you never can fail if you go off the. I mean, if you stay off the record.
Yeah,
so, and words of wisdom.
Yeah, and protect your sources, man. Mm-hmm. I tell you what, this is a lot of fun. Hey, everybody have a great day. Until then, be careful, be helpful, and we will see you tomorrow. We are out of here.